Na 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 na. Na 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 da 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 na 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 na. It's okay. It's gonna be okay, little one. Shh. 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 So, ha 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 na 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 na. Don't cry. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Yes, yes, yes. You're smiling. You're smiling. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. One, two, three, four, five, six. Na 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 na. Imagine creating, enacting an imaginary baby. There's no baby in my arms. I'm using the sensory to be able to envision that I would have a baby that I'm holding in my arms right now. His little head fits the right palm of my right hand, and he's about, I don't know, 7 kilograms. He's a tiny little one. He's a tiny little one, and he's looking up at me. He's looking up at me, and he wants to be held, and he wants to be caressed, and he wants to be taken care of. So I'm creating this imaginary baby, which doesn't exist. But in my imagination, this baby is starting to be real for me, even though I have nothing in my arms. So I'm holding the baby. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 la, la, la. La, 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 la. And then all of a sudden, somebody comes and takes this child, takes this baby, and kills it. Can I even imagine myself that I would be asked to just throw this baby down, just throw him down? That means that I would have to open my arms from the way that I'm holding them, to hold him, imaginary again, and I would have to throw this baby down. Even that creates emotion in one person, in myself right now, that is beyond my wild imagination. No matter how much I use my imagination, if you said to me, just do the gesture of just pretending, as people like to call acting, pretending, this is for everybody to understand, that I am throwing this baby down on the floor. Can I do it? Can I do it? As you can see, there's nothing here, but I allowed my imagination to really make myself believe that there would be a tiny little human who needs my kindness and who needs my protection. And that baby would be snatched away, or somebody would have me hand it over, and I wouldn't know anything more about it. And this is not even the reality. This is imagination. And even imagination, which we know is not real, is too difficult to understand. Can I let him go? 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 If even in our imagination, we're having a difficult time understanding such cruelty and such murderous atrocities, how can we stand for what is happening to the children and to the civilians in Ukraine? There are, as of yesterday, 97 children, 97. Just think about imagining yourself counting to 97. 97 children, innocent children, have been murdered, killed. And I can't even do the acting work to imagine that I have a baby in my arms and then have to let go of that baby. Just let go of that baby. And it takes my heart and my soul, it rips it to pieces. How are we to stand back in our times and watch the atrocities that are happening on television and not come up with different solutions for such murderous killings of young, innocent children to not happen ever again? I am so inspired by President Zelensky, and I know that I've done some of the latest episodes about him because it's linked to the acting. It is linked to what the podcast Hey Stella is about. To have this hero merge out of being an actor just a few months ago, a character that played on their TV screens, in their beautiful cities, in the homes of the Ukrainian people. And within a moment, within a second, all of the fictional characters that he was used to playing demanded for him to be in the reality of Russia, more so Vladimir Putin, invading his country, destroying his cities, killing and murdering his people. And I go back to what everybody seems to be confused about when they ask the question, how is it that such a man who was just an actor, they say, instead of saying, how is it that such a man who was just an actor with the background of an actor could not have risen to this role of a lifetime? He was able to do it because the requirements for great actors, he was able to do it because the requirements for great actors are, I wrote them down because I want to go one by one by one. Personal requirements for a great actor: determination, commitment, self-confidence, patience, stamina, charisma, clear speaking, and knowing the audiences that you are speaking to. And the last one out of the ones that they're mentioning and I wanted to focus on is the ability to cope with changing situations. All of these requirements are training of the actors. You have to remember, the actors are trained their entire lives, and I'm talking about the great ones, to know how to live the stories of other characters in the given circumstances. So he's training in different circumstances that he played characters, even though the circumstances might have been fictional, he lived them truthfully. So because he lived them truthfully, he was able to go through the emotions and to involve himself personally. He had to involve his heart, he had to involve his soul, he had to involve his understanding of what humanity is, in order to give those characters credibility, in order to make the audiences believe those characters. And that is how the training of the actor works. Using your personal backstories, if they help you with a character, and allowing also the imagination to come in. So the merging of the two, the merging of the personal and the merging of the imagination come together. But even that imagination in a fictional situation, just like I demonstrated, I'm demonstrating that I'm carrying a baby. I don't have a baby as Mihaela, but if I were to play, let's say, a fictional character, like one of the most difficult character for a woman actor to play would be Medea by Euripides, as the Americans like to pronounce it. Medea by Euripides, the ancient Greek play that's been playing all over the world, that's been translated in every language, because it is a character that went so far as to do what we do not want to believe that our humanity is capable of doing, which is she wanted to take revenge on her husband who went to be with another younger woman. And because she knew that the worst possible thing that she could have done to make him feel the pain would not be something towards him. It would not be something towards her. It would be to kill their sons. A fictional character, Medea, ancient Greek play. She kills her two sons because she knows that that is the closest that she can come to revenge and to pain the man who left her for a younger woman. It doesn't matter that this happened, or maybe this is based on a true story. I don't even know. I apologize. I don't know that. Maybe it's based on a true story, but then it was given some fictional addition. But just think, you have a fictional character as Medea. And I know actors who were called to play that character. And one of those actors, and again, this is my opinion, this is what I recall from the conversation that I had with her. Her name is Ellen Burstyn. I know I keep going to people who are associated with the actor studio, but that's where I've been for the last 25 years almost. So of course, my stories are going to be associated with that place and the teachings there and the learnings that I was able to get over the years. I remember there was a story that Ellen Burstyn was telling me when she was called upon to play Medea. So she's called upon to play Medea. This is not reality. She's an actress who's going to play a character. And she was so afraid of even thinking that she could possibly imagine 1% of what it would be to kill your own children. Just at the thought of that fictional situation, not the truth, not reality, but because she knows that acting requires for the actor to get involved. And she knows that you have to put your whole soul into the character, that you are going to be forever changed due to playing such a character who can even consider such a unimaginable act, the act of killing children, your own. How did she go about it? She did not even want to personally imagine somebody from her life. She did not want to even imagine herself by using sensory exercises where you can substitute. For example, if I were to substitute right now and imagine that I'm holding a baby, someone that I know, in my arms, even though it's only imaginarily, I would not want to go there. I would not want to go there because that would break me. That would bring me to my knees. That would make me feel like my soul is taken out of my body. So even the thought of playing a fictional character as Medea is something that is so difficult to take on for an actress, that she decided that she was going to see if she can apply a different tool to get into understanding a little bit of what it must be like and what sort of a mother must one be to be capable of doing such a horrific, the most horrific crime on this planet. And then she decided that she was going to go with the animal exercise. The animal exercise, I've talked about it in a previous episode, is where you're trying to keep yourself a little bit distant from allowing involvement of the self personally, or using substitution of someone you know as the baby, because that would be too much. I can't even imagine it. So the animal exercise was something that she was going to try, and I believe she said something, it was suggested to her by Lee Strasberg. I'm not sure if this is when, it was during the time that Lee Strasberg was still the artistic director of the actor studio. I'm not sure if I'm remembering correctly, but if I'm not, then I apologize for my remembering of the actual fact. But he suggested that, from what I understood, that she would try to play, to come in using the tool, the technique, the tool, the animal exercise. And she came on stage of the actor studio, and at that time, I believe she was a vegetarian, she was a vegan, something to that effect. And she had placed center stage a piece of meat. And then she chose to physically, specifically get into the animal's movements, physically on her knees and her hands on all fours. Hi, Nelson. It's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time. And by going to the animal exercise, to be able to separate the consciousness, the conscience, being able to separate and put into a different department that which makes us humans aware of doing something so horrible as killing a child would be put to the side, and she would tap into the primal self, that primal self that exists inside us all for survival. So she wanted to go back, take away the humanity in a way, because having the humanity and having the understanding of that murderous act would be too much. And she got into the animal. I don't remember what animal she was talking about. She got into it. She was into it physically, and she felt the transformation of the animal. And the more that she was on the stage and she was going towards that raw meat in the center, smelling the blood on the meat, getting closer to it, she was able to let go for a moment of the mind telling her, you cannot do this to another human being. You cannot do this to somebody who's as innocent as a child. But she was able for a second to just put that to the side, get so much into that survival mode because of the animal exercise, that then she imagined, the only thing that she was able to let herself imagine was not somebody from her life, was not somebody that she knows. She couldn't even go there even after that. But she imagined one of those icons from the church. And I know all about icons from the church because, as you know, I talk about this all the time. My father's a priest, and my mom and my sister and I, we have grown up around churches from Romania, ex-communist Romania, to here in Detroit, Michigan. She was able to imagine one of those angel-like child with the golden curls, with the wings, that the icons in Orthodox churches, Catholic, I think too. I'm not sure if Catholic has those icons, but I imagine the icons. And that's as far as she was able to take it. She could not go any further than that. She was going to use that image from the icon on that stage. She was going to recreate that little angel boy with the golden locks in the hair. And then she took a bat and she started to beat him up. And even that was difficult to do. Even getting as close as using an icon instead of using the imaginary baby in your arms. So staying as far as she could away from it, but at the same time, wanting to understand just a little bit of how a mother, such as Medea, the fictional character, could kill her sons, no matter of the pain that she felt when she was left by her husband for a younger woman. So what I'm trying to say is, if we can have a reaction. We have a visceral reaction as actors to something that is imagined. We have a visceral reaction that it's so difficult to take, that will drain you for the rest of your life, that will take so much out of you. How is it possible that we're watching the reality that's going on in Ukraine right now when 97 children have been murdered by Vladimir Putin? How can we just sit and watch that when we cannot sit and watch Medea kill her sons in a fictional situation? I don't know if you guys watched this morning, because there was the address of President Zelensky to the United States Congress, and it was mind-blowing. It was mind-blowing in the sense that this actor, who's now becoming the leader of the globe, who's becoming the leader of democracy, of peace, was able to move those Congress people to tears when they came out on CNN and MSNBC, and they were trying to talk about how it felt watching President Zelensky give the address. These people were holding back tears. These politicians who are humans, like the rest of us, they're humans. So they have their own personal backstories that President Zelensky, in addressing them, knew how to make them understand how their personal stories, even though far away from Ukraine, are becoming universal stories. The fight that Zelensky and his courageous, brave Ukrainian people are fighting, that fight is not just for their land. That fight is not just for their country. That fight is for us all in maintaining our freedom, our democracy, instead of autocracy, instead of what, as I know very well personally, Romania used to be 31, 32 years ago. That's why my family left Romania. That's why my father took the risk of leaving Romania without telling us, without telling my mom, without telling anybody, because he was afraid that the security at that time that was under the dictator Ceausescu and his wife Elena was going to interrogate my mom, and that if she knew that my dad was going to leave Romania and never come back, they were going to be able to make her tell the truth, and we were going to suffer the consequences. So he left Romania during the communist era without telling anybody. Imagine the risk. This story of my dad is the story of so many people that had to do the same thing, and others did not even get to have the end that, thank God, we had and my dad had, where he was able to then bring us to America after a couple of years. But people like Zelensky and people like the Ukrainians who you see for the last 2 weeks, now in the third week, who are staying to fight with the risk of their lives being lost, giving their lives, giving it all to their country and to their land, are the people who are fighting to keep us all free and to keep us all to have the human rights that we deserve to have. I just thought it was, for anybody who hasn't seen the address this morning, you gotta watch it. When he was showing the video of the cities, the beautiful cities with people in parks and women and children just living their lives, just like anybody else wishes. They just want to live their lives. And then in the opposite of that, the bombardment and the darkness and the catastrophe of the bombardments on the cities that are now completely gone. And this is happening in 2022. What the world, I thought, changed forever towards a world, a global want and need for liberty and democracy 30 years ago, seems like we're going backwards. We're reliving what all of us thought that was already solved. But you know what's so crazy about the whole situation? Because this did not happen overnight. The fact that Vladimir Putin has the tactics to be able, and he's arrogant, to be able to do what he just did to the Ukrainian people, has to do with so many other things that were happening. And some of the politicians, not just here, but everywhere, were feeding into that. They were applauding him. What a brilliant, bravo, genius, brilliant. Let's tell him how we all are fans, because he's such an extraordinary leader. People are responsible that have nothing to do now in the direct attack on Ukraine, but they're responsible for creating that path for him, where he considered himself to be applauded because he was shown by the people, the politicians, to approve of his brilliant leadership. Speaking to the audience, the way that he knows how to pull at the strings of the hearts of those people listening to him, bringing back the history of the country, of this country, when he spoke to the people today, to the Congress of America today. And he brought in, saying to them, you can understand, and you know the line, I have a dream. The line, I have a dream, from the famous speech of Martin Luther King years ago, again, when he was fighting for equality, when he was fighting for people to not be judged for the color of their skin, to not be judged because of their status, for all of us to be one, equal, and to only be judged for our character. Character. That's what most people are lacking in politics. And there is this actor, President Zelensky from Ukraine, whom just a year or two ago, people were dismissing as just being an actor. He doesn't know, he's just an actor. He was elected by his people, but he's just an actor. And now he's showing us all, he's an example to all the politicians with all the experience in the world, when he has only a couple of years experience, but he has the experience of the actor. He has the experience of the actor, which requires for him to have a responsibility to our humanity. That's what actors are responsible for. They're responsible for the stories they tell. They're responsible for the stories to be told in such a way that it illuminates our human spirit. So all the experiences of the other politicians for I don't know how many years, 30, 40, is nothing in comparison to the experience that he had as an actor. And if I hear one more person saying, oh my God, he was just an actor, he was just a comedian. Well, can you do a little bit more research before you say that? These are the same people who have nothing, no understanding of what acting is. And it just drives me insane. Okay, the address that he had, I'm getting all red. I get red. And that's something that's like when I get too into something and I don't find my words, because again, you know, it doesn't even, ugh. But what I'm trying to say is that I have a dream speech, which he reminded all of the Americans when they had to fight for equality. He said, you have a dream, you're familiar with that speech. And then he also said, I have a need. I have a need. I have a need that you help us. Thank you so much. I'm grateful for everything that you're doing, but I still have a need for more to be done. Close the sky. Just the expression, close the sky. And then you have this little picture of this child that was shown a couple of days ago, where his understanding of close the sky meant that he drew a roof over Ukraine. And he was saying to his mom, if we need to close the sky, Mom, why can't we just build a roof over the country? Build a roof. But he included the sun to be under the roof, because in his little innocent mind, he understood that people need the sun, the light out of the darkness. Subconsciously, he drew that. Tell that little boy why there can be more done to help them, to help the Ukrainians to keep fighting the way that they've been fighting. I mean, is there another example that you can think of a people that are fighting until the end for their homeland, for their homes, for their children's future? I don't. I feel so guilty because I cry, and then I feel I don't have the right to cry because I'm in a safe place. I'm away from all of that. But, you know, watching the geography of where Ukraine is, Romania, where I'm from, is at the bordering at the south of Ukraine. And I spoke to some of the people that I know from Romania, some of the friends and actors that I know, and, you know, they're scared. They're scared because they don't know if this is going to stop at Ukraine. And I just think that it's so valuable that President Zelensky is the leader of Ukraine at this moment in our times. I think the fact that he was revered as a character who played a president in a series called Servant of the People that I talk about in another episode. And he played that character so well, and he showed his character as a human being through the character to defend his country, to want corruption to disappear, to want his people to just live and have dreams like any other countries who are democratic countries and who are independent and are free. People were so hungry to have such a leader that even fictional as he was in the series, they understood that at the bottom of it all, his persona, his humanity was in real life the same as the humanity that he portrayed as a character. And they elected him as their president, kept the party under the same name called Servant of the People. I don't think that the Ukrainians would have been able to, not to take away from the fight in the Ukrainians, because they have that fight. I mean, you can just hear them. They're tired. They're fighting with old weapons in comparison to what the Russian military has, with less people, with, I don't know, all of the things that have to do with the military weaponry, and they're still not giving up. But I think another motive to why they're not giving up is because they have such a leader, because they have a character in President Zelensky that became with character, a man with principles, a man with all of those personal requirements that I mentioned in the beginning of this video. Determination, commitment, personal requirements for an actor, confidence, patience, stamina, charisma, clear speaking and knowing the audience specifically, ability to cope with changing situations. The audience that I'm speaking to right now is different than the audience that I would have if I were on the stage of the actor studio, right? It would be different because I don't have a response from you. I don't know what the response is. I see some people watching, but I don't have a response. When you're in a theater, then you have to completely change the tactic with which you speak to the audience, because no matter how much you're trying to use the fourth wall, which is the imaginary wall, but you're still specifically getting the reaction from the people in the real time that you are actually doing your on-stage work. If you're deciding to use the fourth wall, which is the imaginary wall, to say, I'm going to use the privacy of the space, and therefore I have to get the audience out of my mind, I have to concentrate on something that's within the circle of my privacy that is going to require enough attention from me that my brain is going to be so occupied on that particular concentration, where the audience is not going to affect the way that I'm going about in my work. If I decide that I don't want to use the fourth wall and I'm going to address the audience, so I'm going to allow the audience to speak back to me, or to decide that I'm going to take what their reactions to me are, that's taking down the fourth wall, taking down the imaginary wall. And then I have to be more specific in who am I looking at. If I'm looking at a person that's sitting on the second row and the person is looking at me like, what the hell is she doing on this stage? I'm going to react in a different way to kind of respond to the look that they're giving me. If I look this way and I'm looking at a different person and that person is giving me a smile, I'm going to react in a different way going on with my work, depending on what those audience members are giving me. This is if I decide that I'm going to interact with the audience. President Zelensky knows that. Look at the way that he knew how to change even the way that his wardrobe, I know I call it a wardrobe, but his costume, he put on the military costume. And now they're saying that even President Macron from France is taking an example from him and is ditching the suit. I mean, this actor with 2 years of experience in politics is making politicians with 100 years of experience hold back tears, because he knows that our humanity demands for him to not give up, to fight until the last breath, to have hope, and to ask for the needs that he has, that his country has, to be met. What a lesson, what a lesson for us as people. What an example, such important need at this time in our lives. I mean, here in America, a few years ago, just a year ago, I mean, they were like, you know, it's like, what's happening? This reminds me of going back to dictatorship. No respect for the law, no respect for institutions, no respect from politicians with 100 years of experience, because they were associating with, ooh, why don't I get greedy? Why don't I get more power for myself? That's very dangerous. That's very dangerous when somebody understands that they can do that depending on who's leading the country. Like we had an ex-president who was allowing this to happen. These politicians, they were going like this to the ex-president of the United States, now are the same people who can be put in the same bed with Vladimir Putin and killing the children and the people of Ukraine. You can't take that back. You can't just erase what you did a year ago or 2 years ago to say, I've changed my mind, because you contributed to that which is happening in the present moment. So you have to own it. Own it. Don't come on television and pretend like that never happened. Like, I don't know their names, but because I'm not a politician, I'm not an expert in politics, but they come on television and they're like, oh yeah, we cannot allow this to happen. We cannot allow this to happen. Well, you could have done something about it. When the Democrats were they were speaking out, they were screaming out where what was happening in America could lead to, which is this. If on the other side, the politicians were not going to do something about it, and they still decided they don't want to do something about it. In comparison, they actually were bowing down to the brilliance of Vladimir Putin. Well, keep bowing down to Vladimir Putin, because now you can't take back all of the things that you could have done, and maybe this would not have happened. When you discredited that Ukraine and President Zelensky was asking for his needs at that time, and he was having to do something else in return in order to get the weapons that he needed to protect his people at the time that he needed those. I don't know. Usually I don't get this crazy. I mean, I don't care that people say like, who am I? I don't even know if people say, who am I? Maybe it's just my insecurity that says that. I am insecure and I have a lot of, but I just want to make clear to people that I am so proud that maybe now, when all these other channels are showing the rise of the leader, of the global leader, President Zelensky, from an actor to the leader of the globe, fighting for democracy, fighting for freedom, fighting for our human rights, is an actor. And people will probably understand that actors are not just people who pretend. Because when I hear people saying, oh, why would we want to care about actors and seeing their work? Why do we need to see that? Nobody cares about actors. Nowadays, everybody wants to see reality. They want to see real people. Actors are the most real people of all the real people that you know, because they have to be real in different stories that they're telling, in different situations that those real people may not ever live in their one life. But actors have to live, I mean, there are so many lives, depending on how many characters they're lucky and privileged to play. The responsibility for them is to live truthfully in the given circumstances. They're not pretending those circumstances, they're living them. So they get trained to what it would be like to have the thing inside of you as a mother that's going to allow you to be able to kill your son. Even if we don't, as actors, understand that, and we are afraid to even go there completely. But there's that 1% in doing the work that will get you to a little bit more of an understanding how that's possible, and know not to do it, and expose the ugliness, expose the ugliness of the world, expose it. I'm trying to bring Narsan on, but I don't know how to do it. Maybe because he's gone. I don't know who else is on. I can't see. Nelson, I wanted to speak to you. Hang on, Sophie, join. Thank you so much. I guess, yeah. Nelson is one of my dear friends from the actor studio, and I've known him for such a long time, and he's a great actor. So I thought I was going to be able to bring him on, but yeah. Medea, if a fictional portrayal of a woman killing her children is difficult even for an actor to play, how is it possible that we can look at the numbers of children that are being killed for no reason at all and sit back and watch? For those of you who have not seen the address of President Zelensky to the Congress, please watch it. Thank you so much. This is Mihaela. Watch and listen to Hey Stella podcast. I thank you so much.